Saint Nicholas is known around the world as the inspiration for Santa Claus, but the real man behind the legend is far more fascinating than most people realize. His life stretches from the sunlit ports of ancient Lycia to the stormy waters of the Mediterranean, from miraculous acts of compassion to the origins of Europe's most unique holiday traditions. And hidden within this journey lies a surprising mystery. Why do Bulgarians honor him with a carp feast every December? What forgotten stories transformed an early Christian bishop into a global icon? And how did a humble fish become one of the most symbolic foods in Eastern European folklore? Before we begin, remember to subscribe, leave a like, and activate the bell so you never miss a new episode of Best of History and Mythology. Nicholas was born in the warm coastal region of Patara, a vibrant port in ancient Lycia, an area known for its maritime trade and early Christian communities. His childhood unfolded among sunlit harbors, bustling marketplaces, and the deep-rooted traditions of the Eastern Mediterranean. From an early age, Nicholas was exposed to a world where Roman culture, Greek heritage, and emerging Christian ideals coexisted, shaping a unique environment that molded his character. This setting, rich in cultural exchange and seafaring life, became a defining influence on the young boy who would one day leave a lasting mark on global history. Raised in a family of devout believers, Nicholas absorbed stories of spiritual devotion, compassion, and moral duty. His parents were known for their kindness and sense of responsibility toward the community, values that deeply influenced their only child. Tragedy struck when a sudden illness took the lives of both his parents. This event left Nicholas with not only a considerable inheritance, but also a profound sense of purpose. Rather than withdrawing into grief, he found strength in the teachings he had grown up with. He embraced humility, generosity, and a commitment to serving the vulnerable. The transformation of a young orphan into a figure of compassion is central to his early life and defines his emerging identity. Nicholas's education played a major role in shaping his worldview. Guided by his uncle, the Bishop of Myra, he studied theology, scripture, and the customs of the ancient Christian world. His training exposed him to the social struggles of the region, from poverty and injustice to the challenges faced by early Christian communities living under shifting political landscapes. This environment encouraged him to blend spiritual understanding with practical compassion, reinforcing his desire to make a meaningful impact on those around him. As he matured, Nicholas developed a reputation in his community for his quiet acts of kindness, thoughtful nature, and unwavering moral conviction. While he had the means to live comfortably, he chose a path defined by service. He listened to the needs of fishermen, laborers, and travelers who passed through the coastal towns of Lycia, learning firsthand about their hardships. This early connection to seafaring life and local communities became one of the cornerstones of his identity. By the time Nicholas reached adulthood, his character was already formed. He stood out not because of extraordinary ambition or public acclaim, but because of his compassion and commitment to people who often lived unnoticed. His story began in the sunlit cities of Lycia, shaped by faith, loss, and the cultural crossroads of the ancient Mediterranean, setting the foundation for the remarkable figure he would eventually become. In the bustling town of Myra, a once prosperous merchant faced a devastating downfall. Years of misfortune had stripped him of his wealth, leaving him unable to secure a future for his 3 daughters. In the ancient world, where opportunities for women were severely limited, lacking a dowry meant the girls risked being forced into lives marked by hardship and social exclusion. Nicholas learned about the merchant's plight through quiet conversations in the community. The father, ashamed of his condition, hid his suffering behind closed doors. He feared not only for his daughter's future, but also for their dignity in a culture where economic stability determined a family's place in society. The distress of the household became a turning point that would shape one of the most famous legends associated with Nicholas and inspire the concept later known as the spirit of giving. Rather than confronting the family directly, Nicholas planned a discreet act of compassion that preserved their honor. Late one night, he approached their modest home carrying a small leather pouch filled with gold coins. He chose darkness and anonymity to avoid attention, valuing humility over recognition. Without knocking, he gently tossed the pouch through an open window. When the family discovered the gold the next morning, their despair shifted to relief, and the future of the eldest daughter was secured. As time passed, the second daughter neared adulthood, and again the father found himself in a desperate situation. On another night, Nicholas returned and repeated his quiet act. The unexpected appearance of a second pouch filled the home with hope. The father, overwhelmed by gratitude and curiosity, wished to discover the identity of their unseen benefactor. By the time the third daughter required assistance, the father sat awake in the dark, waiting near the window. When Nicholas approached again, the man rushed outside and caught sight of his benefactor. Shocked and deeply moved, he fell to his knees, thanking Nicholas for saving his family from ruin. Nicholas urged him to remain silent, explaining that acts of kindness carried greater meaning when not performed for public praise. The three quiet gifts became a story retold across the Mediterranean world, celebrated for its message of compassion, dignity, and selfless giving. Although Nicholas never sought recognition, his actions sparked traditions that centuries later would evolve into wintertime gift-giving, shaping the foundation of a beloved cultural celebration. Which moment in St. Nicholas's early life do you believe shaped his destiny the most? And why do you think that event still resonates with us today? Let me know in the comments after watching the full story. Life along the Mediterranean coast was shaped by unpredictable winds, hidden reefs, and storms that could rise without warning. For sailors navigating these treacherous waters, faith often served as a guide as vital as the stars overhead. One of the earliest stories associated with Nicholas tells of a group of sailors caught in a violent storm while returning from a long voyage. Their ship was battered by towering waves, and the crew feared they would not survive the night. In desperation, they called upon the name of Nicholas, a man they had met during a brief stop in Myra. According to tradition, the winds calmed and the sea slowly settled. The grateful sailors later traveled to Myra to thank him, convinced that his prayers had saved their lives. Another widely shared account describes a ship attempting to dock in Myra during rough weather. The vessel drifted dangerously close to the rocky coastline, its crew unable to regain control. Eyewitnesses later claimed that a figure resembling Nicholas appeared on the deck, giving orders that steered the ship safely into harbor. When the sailors went ashore, they found Nicholas speaking with townspeople, unaware of the vision. Stories like this strengthened the belief that he could appear in moments of peril, guiding ships to safety with a calm and steady presence. Fishermen, merchants, and travelers soon began to invoke his name before setting sail. Small icons depicting him were placed near the helm of ships, and coastal families prayed for his protection whenever loved ones ventured across open waters. Nicholas's association with the sea also influenced the rituals observed in numerous coastal regions. Sailors honored him at the beginning of each fishing season, asking for safe voyages and abundant catches. Communities hosted gatherings where food was shared in gratitude for his guidance. These customs preserved a connection between spiritual devotion and maritime life that resonated with people who depended on the sea for their survival. Over time, Nicholas became more than a spiritual guardian. He grew into a cultural symbol representing resilience, hope, and the enduring bond between coastal communities and the ocean that sustained them. If you are enjoying this journey through history and legend, make sure to subscribe to Best of History and Mythology, leave a like, and tap the bell icon. Your support helps this channel continue, bringing valuable stories from the ancient world directly to you. As centuries passed, the memory of Nicholas traveled far beyond the shores of Myra. His reputation flourished along major trade routes, carried by merchants, pilgrims, and sailors who repeated stories of his kindness and miraculous protection. When his relics were transferred to Bari in southern Italy, devotion to Nicholas expanded dramatically. In medieval Europe, Nicholas became one of the most celebrated figures in Christian culture. Communities honored him on December 6th with ceremonies, songs, and small gifts for children. This tradition of wintertime generosity made him especially beloved in Northern Europe. The customs developed in regions like the Low Countries introduced the figure of Santa Claus, a noble and dignified bishop who traveled through villages, blessing homes and rewarding good behavior. During the Renaissance and early modern period, Nicholas continued to change through storytelling, local customs, and artistic depictions. He gradually absorbed elements from regional folklore, including gift-giving spirits, winter guardians, and ancestral protectors connected to seasonal rituals. This blending of beliefs allowed his image to evolve naturally across cultures. In Germany, he appeared alongside figures representing discipline and moral lessons. In the Netherlands, he arrived by boat, a detail that echoed his ancient connection to seafaring communities. Each adaptation added a new layer to his identity while preserving the essence of his generosity. The transformation into Santa Claus accelerated when Dutch settlers carried the tradition of Sinterklaas to the American colonies. In the multicultural environment of early America, Nicholas began to shift again. Writers and illustrators reimagined him, shaping a character that reflected the spirit of the New World. Over the 19th century, he adopted new traits, from the warm red coat to his association with chimneys and reindeer. By the beginning of the 20th century, Nicholas had become a universal figure recognized across continents. His role expanded beyond religious tradition, becoming a symbol of generosity, childhood wonder, and winter festivities. Despite these changes, echoes of the original bishop remained. The emphasis on kindness, moral values, and care for those in need continued to shape the modern image of Santa Claus, connecting past and present in a way that resonates with audiences searching for authentic holiday history. Through centuries of cultural adaptation, St. Nicholas evolved from a compassionate figure of early Christianity into one of the most iconic characters in global tradition. His story demonstrates how legends grow, merge, and transform while preserving their core values, ensuring his legacy endures through every winter celebration. How do you feel about the way St. Nicholas transformed into the modern Santa Claus? Do you prefer the ancient protector or the modern holiday figure? Share your thoughts below. Across Bulgaria, the celebration of Nikulden on December 6th is one of the most meaningful winter traditions, connecting faith, folklore, and the rhythms of everyday life. At the center of the feast stands the carp, a dish prepared with great care and symbolism. According to Bulgarian legend, fishermen once found themselves trapped in a collapsing boat during a harsh winter storm. The waves rose sharply and water began flooding the vessel through a hole that had opened along the hull. In desperation, the men prayed to St. Nicholas, whose protection over sailors and fishermen had long been honored along the Black Sea coast. As the story goes, a large carp surfaced near the damaged boat, pushing itself into the hole and sealing it until the fishermen reached the shore. This miraculous act ensured their survival, and the fish became a symbol of divine intervention. The carp is not only a reminder of the legendary rescue. In Bulgarian folk belief, the fish is considered the servant of Saint Nicholas, an animal connected to the deeper spiritual world. Preparing carp on his feast day is seen as a gesture of gratitude, a way for families to honor the protector who watches over all who depend on the sea. The ritual meal often includes stuffed carp, baked with walnut and onion filling, a dish believed to carry blessings for prosperity and safety during the harsh winter months. Nikulden is also associated with rites meant to protect households from misfortune. The head of the family, usually the oldest male, makes a small cut on the carp's forehead before cooking it. This symbolic act, known only in a few coastal communities, is said to mimic the ancient gesture of marking a vessel for safe travel. When the carp is shared at the table, the meal becomes more than nourishment. It becomes a reenactment of survival, a quiet acknowledgement of the sea's dangers and the hope granted through Nicholas's guardianship. The deeper revelation behind the Bulgarian carp tradition lies in its preservation of the original identity of Saint Nicholas. While much of the world celebrates him as the origin of Santa Claus, Bulgaria maintains a connection to the ancient Mediterranean protector of sailors. The carp embodies this older, more authentic narrative. It reflects a culture that remembers Nicholas not as a bearer of gifts, but as a defender of human life against the unpredictable power of nature. Through this culinary ritual, Bulgarians safeguard a chapter of history that predates the modern image of Santa Claus. The carp on their tables serves as a bridge between past and present, revealing a legacy rooted not in winter magic, but in courage, gratitude, and the enduring bond between communities and the waters that shape their lives. Thank you for watching. May the past continue to illuminate your journey. See you in our next video here on Best of History and Mythology.